Okay, I think we beat this dead horse to the end of it. So let's move on. That's a saying. Let's move on to Connor McDavid has hit 100 points. Now, I have two very different views on this because I'm happy for Connor McDavid, but oh boy, do the Edmonton Oilers look thin if you look at their points. So let's get to the feat of scoring 100 points in what was it, 53 games, 54 games? And Brandon, I'll start with you because I'm not sure if you were watching the game or not, but what do you think about old McDaddy scoring 100 points in 54
We
games?
mentioned this yesterday, Josh. We were talking about how it was like one of the greatest things that we've witnessed in
Yeah.
our age. So I'm actually more curious to get Matt's thoughts, but I
All
mean,
right,
I'll go
yeah.
one more time. I'll go one more time, just say a little bit different things because I forget honestly what I said. I have to go look back. But McDavid to watch this right now is it's hard, right? Because I think I said the same thing yesterday. It's hard to appreciate something in the middle of its greatness than rather than when it's come and gone. You know what I mean? So for me, especially as a Leafs fan, someone who doesn't cheer for other teams, and McDavid plays the Leafs a lot, it's hard to cheer for him. So I think that right now it's like that. It's almost like Brad Marchand. You can't like him, you can't appreciate him, but when it's all said and done, you'll realize that they did a lot for the game. And even Brad Marchand is a little bit of a piss off that we can appreciate one day.
Yeah, Matt, what did you think?
Yeah, I like it, but I like McDavid getting 100 points. The only thing that really bothers me is like the whole narrative of like comparing it to other things. Like, oh,
yeah, I hate that. It's
that. like I'll give some examples when we can talk about that. It's like, is this more impressive than Gretzky's random year that you pick in the 80s? It's like, why are you doing that? Like,
yeah, why do I care?
He had an amazing year. Give him all the awards, give him the MVP, give him this, and say, Connor, you did a really good job, and we remember this for all the time. But I saw some people on Twitter, and I don't know who said it, but someone on Overdrive said this. Josh, maybe you can help me out. He said, I think Connor McDavid is better at hockey than Patrick Mahomes is better at football. I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, I don't understand you know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's so wishy-washy, and that's just
was
something
that
you
yesterday?
say. I think it was longer than that. I think it maybe like a week ago.
I don't remember who said that, but that sounds like something someone would say, yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't know if like it's a Canadian thing that we do that so much just to kind of like bump up hockey players, but like I don't really understand why you compare it to anything. Like I think, like Brandon said, it's an amazing accomplishment. Josh, you're right, he's very entertaining to watch, and I don't really understand why you got to do the whole comparison stuff to other stuff, you know?
And you can't even compare it because when Gretzky broke those records, the game was different. But
comparing it to Gretzky's different. Like I kind of see it. They play similar styles. They're on the same team. But like comparing it to football, like you just sound like an idiot.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
this is really. I'm sorry, but this is really foreshadowing and Matt's debate question that's coming up.
I don't know
comparing sports.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's super impressive. You know, McDavid now has 102. Draisaitl's got 81. So those are the two leading scorers in the NHL, and the two leading scorers on the Oilers. Both are forwards. So when we move to look at the Oilers scoring and their depth going into the playoffs, I'm going to read you this. Connor McDavid, 102. Leon Draisaitl, 81. You then have to go to fifth place below Tyson Barrie and Darnell Nurse to get to the next leading forward in points on the Oilers, and that's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at 34. So the forwards go McDavid 102, Draisaitl 81, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins 34. That is quite the drop-off, and I don't know if that type of depth is going to get you through the playoffs. Can these two guys, I'm not saying they can't do it because they've shown that they can. They dragged this team to a second-place finish in the North Division. Can these two players, McDavid and Draisaitl, do that for 16 plus games in the playoffs? Because we saw what happens when you shut them down. The Leafs shut them down for 3 straight games. Shutout, 1 goal. And the rest of the team had nothing. Like, is this system going to work?
Yeah, I think I think it will, Josh, because I feel like you said Hopkins has 34 points, but like we've only played like 50 games this year. So 34 points in 50 games is a lot better than, you know what I'm trying to say? Like I think it's a lot relative.
I don't, but take a look at other teams. The point share balance is so much better.
But I think I don't know if this is a hot take, so maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Edmonton game plan is give these two the puck and everyone get the fuck out of the way. Like, you know what it's very
not
like
Pee-wee hockey.
But it's working. So I don't just like I think if I'm
It's
the
not, though.
Oilers,
They've won one playoff series since they
you
got there.
you just said it worked because they're second in the North. So yes, it's working.
It
Josh.
works in the regular season. I'm talking about playoffs.
But they're playing Winnipeg and Montreal. So I don't like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think McDavid and Draisaitl can single-handedly win those two series, whoever they play. Like, I think, like you said, Toronto will be the huge test for Edmonton. But I just kind of look at it kind of like Brandon, you might like this analogy, like kind of how the Lakers played with Kobe. Like, yo, give him the ball and everyone get the fuck out of the way. I think it's very similar to the Oilers. And I know hockey can't really do that, but I think McDavid and Draisaitl are so good that you can do that.
Look at the first. I'm agreeing with you here, Matt. Look at the first run that McDavid took all the way back then, Game 7 of the second round. It's happened. He's done it. Matthews didn't do that.
That's not doing it, though. You got eliminated in the second round.
No,
in
but
Game
Josh,
7 in overtime. I'm thinking about it on, the Canadian division now. Matt brings up a weak ass Montreal and a weak ass Winnipeg team, and I made a mistake today throwing out a little too early poll. But I think that if any of those teams, especially
I was just giving you shit about that. That series is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, I mean it's close, but still, I mean Winnipeg and Edmonton. I just think that there's no chemistry in Winnipeg, and it's just as worse of a team as Montreal in the playoff situation. So, I mean, both of these things are looking forward to a Leafs and Edmonton matchup. And then, like, who's after that? We're going to talk about, we're so disappointing for this team. We're so disappointing for that team. Like, it has to happen. You know what I mean? That second round matchup, someone's going to be disappointed, and we're going to have to feel a certain way about that.
And Josh, also just kind of giving Edmonton the benefit of the doubt. I think Darnell Nurse has kind of hit like a new switch this year, and he's became like a really good elite player. Like, shout out to the
He's had a good year.
Yeah, so
had a great year.
Yeah, so I just kind of think, and Yamamoto's fast and young, and I think he'll have some juice come the playoffs. And this might be another dumb argument, but I kind of think Edmonton, I feel like they've been in so many playoff style games, like just against Calgary and like the run in 2017. Like, I just feel like they set the tone and how to play, and I don't really see them falling short from like a compete standpoint or definitely a skill standpoint because they have them to. So I think if I'm Edmonton, the only team I could see beating Edmonton is Toronto at this point. And I think if you're Edmonton, you lose in the second round against Toronto in game 6 or 7, you can't really call that a disappointment of the season.
What about vice versa? What if Toronto loses to Edmonton?
I'll be pissed because I think the only reason Toronto only loses to Edmonton if you lose 6-5 and McDavid and Draisaitl will get 2-3 or 3-3. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't see us losing to Edmonton, but it's 2-1. And if that does happen and we lose 6-5 and McDavid and Draisaitl go crazy, it's like, why do I have Austin Matthews and Marner if they can't limit McDavid? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? And we have home ice, so we get last change. And I kind of think we are kind of built to, like, slow down a McDavid type team. Like, Joe Thornton, I've seen him attack Ehlers. Like, I've seen Muzzin and Hull limit McDavid and Draisaitl for a 3-game stretch. I've seen Jack Campbell get really hot in net. So I definitely kind of think the Leafs are kind of built to limit the chance of McDavid and Draisaitl. And instead of them getting 2 goals and 3 assists, they get a goal and an assist. And if McDavid gets a goal and assist every game against Toronto in a 7-game series, that's not enough to win. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think Toronto's that superior in terms of, like, we're gonna cause stuff. And I just think the way the league's going in the scrum, I'm very comfortable with Simmons or Muzzin pounding McDavid's face to the ice because that's definitely allowed. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the playoffs more as they approach. I think next week we can start, or maybe even Friday, we can start doing some playoff previews. But let's take a look at some non-playoff teams. The Columbus Blue Jackets have parted ways with our favorite coach. Thank God, John Tortorella is out in Columbus. However, I don't think he is done coaching at the NHL level. So, 1, what do we think of this? And 2, Matt, how hard are you going to cry when he ends up coaching the Rangers?
Well, I'll go with the Rangers things first. If he coaches the Rangers, bro, I think it'll be happen. Dude, I've seen rumors and I saw some like pretty good like people close to it saying he'll definitely get an interview. So I just kind of think like Josh, Glenn Sather is still with the Rangers right now.
Yeah.
Like they don't like switching up anything. Like Dolan's a different guy. Like so like
Dolan's like,
yeah. I just think like a guy like Adam Fox is arguably gonna win the Norris or be in the top 5 for sure. And I just think Tort's the type of guy to say like, yo, don't get any more points. You need to block shots. So like, I don't know. I'm kind of done of John Tortorella as an NHL head coach.
Yeah.
So what do we think about? Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm so happy. You saw my reaction. I made a story about it, and For Patrick Laine, one of my favorite players' sake, I'm happy for it. For the NHL, he's not a part of any other team at the moment, so let's cross our fingers and hope that he ends up.
I think he's done. He'll probably end up. I don't know which teams are going to be getting rid of their coaches and who isn't. I don't think he'll end up coaching Arizona, who also recently got rid of their coach, Rick Tocchet. He has a close connection to Ron Francis. So is old Ricky the new coach of the Seattle Kraken? What do we think of that one? Or is that going to go to a more experienced, more tenured coach like Bruce Boudreau or any of those other guys?
I have no idea. I think I think an expansion team, it's kind of like, do you want a young first-year coach like a Sheldon Keefe who can kind of grow with your organization? Or do you kind of want to hit the ground running and get someone crazy like Torts or Babcock? And just in terms of Tocchet, I kind of think he leans a little more just like, I don't really know that much, obviously, because of Arizona, but I think he probably leans more to like a Babcock Torts kind of style of hockey, just watching Arizona play, than he does lean to a Keefe or like just like I saw the Leafs doing skill sessions yesterday, and I don't really think Rick Tocchet's the type of coach to do skill sessions a day before playoffs. Yeah. So I definitely would stay away if I'm Seattle from kind of those coaches. Like I would look maybe more towards like a Gerard Gallant or maybe a Brindamore if he comes available. And I do like the Bruce Boudreau because he is an old kind of guy, but he is kind of fun and he's personable and he can kind of joke with it. And I kind of think when I look at Bruce Boudreau, I could see him coaching a team for 8 years. And I don't really like the hires for like a Torts or Babs who's just going to yell at people for a 2 to 3 year stretch. And then you get someone else in there. I like hiring coach, or I like when teams hire coaches for like a long run, like a John Cooper or something, you know?
So how long will Mark Messier last as the coach of the Rangers when that inevitably happens?
Yo, I like Messier. I thought it was so funny. It was like, yo, if we don't beat them in the scoreboard, we beat him in the alley. Because I think that saying is so funny. Yeah, I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, but
I think Chris Drury would take over any position potentially. I mean, I know he has higher management, but that guy wasn't he behind the bench after one game when they blew him out?
No,
it was the one game.
That was the COVID situation when all the Rangers
AHL
got COVID. Yeah.
So speaking of expansion teams and the COVID situations, last night Vegas played with 15 skaters.
I think that was salary cap, not COVID.
But because of like some of them were sitting, I think one or two were out with COVID restrictions. But like salary cap, and you can't dress an additional six or seven skaters to get a full team in there. You have to play with 15 guys. That's a joke. Shouldn't there be fail safes in case of this? Like 15 guys. That's crazy.
Dude, yeah, I know. And I'm just kind of looking at it now. Like Pietrangelo played 29 minutes. They had multiple forwards play in the 20s. Like I don't know, man. Like I'm looking at what they dressed, and like they still had No, they lost 2-1, but it was to Colorado. So like I don't know. You can't really yell at them. So like I don't know, Josh. And like I don't think they had a backup goalie. I think these salary cap guys like Pridham and all these other guys, like it's a gong show. Like, I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I have a question about the salary cap too.
Yep.
Like Josh, maybe you might know this because like Brandon, I don't know who knows this, but like I am always on Cap Friendly, and like I look, and you know how like the salary cap is only at 81.5.
Yeah.
Right. But I look at the final cap hit, and I think it's half the league is above the cap. So Tampa, St. Louis, Islanders, Vancouver, Chicago, Anaheim, Edmonton, Washington, Dallas, Winnipeg, Toronto, Vegas, Colorado, Pittsburgh, Montreal. I think all those teams are above 82.3 and more. Tampa has a $98 million cap hit. St. Louis has a 90. So why can't the salary cap go up if all these other teams are ready and it's only a few basement teams that can't spend more than 81.5?
Because what that is, Matt, when you put players on LTIR, it doesn't take it off your cap. It adds you space to your cap. So
but I'm hearing that we can't put the cap up because teams can't afford it because of COVID. But teams are spending $100 million on rosters. Even if it's LTIR, you're still paying the money. So I don't understand. I don't understand why we can't just lower the floor. So if you only want to spend $40 million, that's allowed. And so say the minimum's $40 million, but the max is like 95. Like, I don't understand why we can't do that. Why are you punishing the 14 teams that can do it? And it's not even only like Toronto or the Rangers or those teams like Anaheim, who I think is the low budget teams doing it, Dallas, Winnipeg. Like all these teams aren't like huge markets. Like I don't understand why we can't be spending money.
It's because Gary Bettman loves parity in the NHL. That's the only reason I can think of it. Yeah, he's a donkey.
But there's like, it's not parity because I was told Tampa's going to get off sheet. They're going to have to trade Point. They can't sign Sergachev. but they signed everybody, and it totally amounted to $98 million. So how is there parity when I can still do that? It's just not official.
Tampa's used some loopholes this year as well, though, right?
Exactly. Like Kucherov and Stamkos, it's hilarious. Like, I don't know. I love Tampa. It's so funny.
Freddie Anderson played a game and a half in the AHL. Finished, he looks all right, I guess. He's still not cleared to play in an NHL game. Let's just 2 minutes on this, then we'll move on to something else. But Freddie in the AHL, did you see any of it? Did you hear anything about it? I know, Brandon, you probably didn't. I watched one of the games. The one
I heard he let in 3 goals in 20 minutes on the first day.
No, it was 2 goals on his first 2 shots, and then he saved 12 in a row. The second one, he let in 4 goals and then 2 in the shootout, but he did look a little bit better. 3 of the goals that went in were like either deflected or one like went off Max Hollowell's skate, and in another one.
This is just too much of a side. I hope this doesn't ruin anything for the Leafs and their chemistry and their momentum and stuff like that, because it's unfortunate that we've had such a strong showing without him, and now we have to make such room for him, and it's going to be a big deal.
When he comes back,
it could be something that really sparks or breaks this team.
Yeah. I don't know.
I have his stats. In 2 games with the Marlies, he has a 3.7 goals against and a .885 save percentage. So I think
that
that's
the Marlies are one of the worst teams in the league, though, right?
The Marlies are the 29th worst defensive team in the AHL.
Oh.
Really?
Yep.
Well, we call up everybody. Yeah. That makes sense for this. Yeah, it makes sense.
But I don't think they're looking at his stats. I'm watching this back and I'm going, it doesn't make sense that they're going to call him up only if he let him 1 or 2 goals. What they're looking for here is to make sure he's comfortable,
confidence,
make sure he can move side to side. He's squaring up with the shooter. He's comfortable.
Move the puck, pass it.
Can move the cup.
No, but Josh, like, in my opinion, if you're looking for the most basic goalie stuff and I don't want to say you're worried about it, but you're anticipating to see how he reacts to small stuff like that, I don't think throwing him in a series with Cole Caulfield, Tyler Toffoli, and a Shea Weber slap shot is beneficial to the organization.
If your Shea Weber never hits the net, but if your first game he plays is game 1 against Montreal, then no, you can't do that. His first game being played should be tomorrow against Ottawa or Friday against Winnipeg. Only then can you make that decision. You know what I mean?
This is more than 2 minutes.
Yeah, but whatever. Finally, for the hockey news, we'll skip the Rob Brendamore one because there's really nothing there. Ray Ferraro, it appears, is leaving TSN to go and work for ESPN in the States, which kind of sucks because I love Ray Ferraro. I think he's one of the best analysts on the broadcast. His Daily Hit on Overdrive is some of the best radio. So, I mean, good for Ray to go and get his money. And, hopefully he's still allowed to do some games over here and we can hear him. But, Ray Ferraro is going to go over there and be the Shaquille O'Neal of the NHL.
That's good. I think that's a good move. I mean, it sucks for the people that like him here and want to see him more, but I think it's a positive role model to have portray the game in the States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Ray. He's a good guy. Okay, Brandon, you got some basketball news for us?
Yeah, sure. I'll start it off right away with congratulating Russell Westbrook on becoming the all-time triple-double leader in NBA history, passing Oscar Robertson the other day. Now, I'll throw this around to you guys, especially because I know if you haven't even watched basketball, Josh, I know Matt definitely knows about Russell Westbrook, especially myself. The guy gets a lot of hate around his name, especially for the lack of championships, team success, and people think he was a little bit of a selfish player throughout his career. But going back to how we witnessed McDavid's greatness and his 100-point fastest season, blah, 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 how do you feel about witnessing Russell Westbrook become a leader in the triple-double category when you think about names like Oscar Robertson? And now you have a guy like Russell Westbrook who you've witnessed, and he's been in your lifetime. What are your feelings towards him? Are you on the slander of Russell, or are you on the appreciation of Russell?
I appreciate it, but I don't know. I just kind of feel like triple doubles, this is a good stat, but people have to understand that it's just 10 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. And I hear guys like Carmelo and Russ, the ball will go up and they jump and they'll be like, yo, get the fuck out of the way. I feel like triple doubles is the funniest stat because if you really want to be that guy, you could look at the numbers and say, okay, all I got to do is pass to a guy. He scores, get $10. And I just kind of think I don't know, it's such a funny stat because you could either be get 40 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, or you can get 11 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, and you get I don't know.
A player like Kawhi Leonard has only 2 career triple doubles.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I'm saying. It's a very misleading stat because like you think it's not that hard, but it is hard. But like if I'm
Yeah.
intensely going for it, is it easier? But I kind of think though Westbrook hate kind of is like he does this crazy stuff in the regular season, but like you said, he does get out in the first round. And like right now, I'm looking at the standings, and the Wizards are 10th, so they would be in the play-in tournament thing. So I kind of think like if you're not like, it's not even his fault, but if you're not in big moments like the finals, this or that, you're not going to get that coverage from like media or fan support or whatever. Like I think half the thing is why LeBron is LeBron because he's always in the finals. Like when Crosby went on that run, we were talking about Crosby so much because he scored the golden goal, was in the conference, was in the Stanley Cup final, then he won a cup. And I just kind of think about athletes like you need to be in those big moments. And I think through Westbrook's whole career, there's been 4 or 5 guys kind of ahead of him. So I don't know if that will hurt him in the Hall of Fame or whatever. But I do definitely think if I'm Westbrook, I should try to put myself in a position where I'm just kind of ring chasing at this point, you know?
Josh?
Sorry, I just saw the Leafs release their lineup for the next game. A triple-double kind of seems like something that is a really good individual stat, and it doesn't help your team whatsoever. That's what I'm getting from what you guys are saying. It seems like, and is it Russ that kind of has a narrative around him that he's a selfish player? And
yeah.
Well, that seems like the perfect stat for him then, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting because even if it wasn't the perfect stat for him, he's the leader of it. He's not first. He's not second.
It's still important. Yeah.
He's still not second or third, and he's not chasing it anymore.
Yeah, good for him. Like, yeah, he that's his title. He has it now. No one can take that away from him. But
speaking of taking things away from us, the Toronto Raptors will not be in the NBA playoffs this year, not even to play in. A little bit of Twitter banter today as they released the Toronto Raptors will not be in the playoffs this year. I think the Toronto Raptors or Yahoo Sports overcovered the Toronto and said the Tampa Bay Raptors will not be in the playoffs this year. So what do you guys think? What are your ultimate decisions? Maybe your 3 biggest takeaways from this year? And I'll go first because I want to set the table here. Wasn't the same home building and the home disadvantage this year, American disadvantage this year. And I mean, we lost all of our biggest players in free agency. It was kind of expected. So
I'll say, and I think playing away from home, away from your family is you didn't have a home. I think that does definitely weigh on the players.
You heard what Fred said.
Yeah. They were hit hard by COVID about, 2 months ago now? And a lot of their players weren't the same. They didn't have a coaching staff for a while. And it just, I don't think they felt the same. They didn't have the love of the fans. Toronto is, I think LeBron said it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Scotiabank Arena is one of the loudest basketball arenas in the NBA. The fans love it. And, the fans love them back. And I think, would that have been enough to win them an NBA title? No, I don't think so. Would it have been enough to push them into a play-in round? Maybe a playoff spot. The Raptors are a good home team. I think that.
Yeah, Pascal was having an interview like a couple days ago talking about getting like booed at the free throw line in Tampa Bay at a home court game. So like, think about it. That's not supposed to be happening. That's ruining your whole overall team's morale and confidence. Sorry, keep going.
No, that's all I had to say.
Matt, I know you got something to say on the Raptors. I'm excited.
No, I agree with you guys. I just kind of think like it's kind of hard to make decisions on the future when the season was kind of like this. It's very similar to like the Rangers. Like when everything that could go wrong went wrong, I kind of think it doesn't really make any sense to be like, oh, we're going to trade Siakam. We're going to do this. We're going to do, like, you know what I'm trying to say? So like, I guess you play a year in Toronto, try to run it back and see if you really are a bottom team, or maybe you do the play-in, or I don't know. It's kind of a lot to think of, but I think it's kind of interesting, the Lowry situation. Like, are we going to do a sign-in trade? Because everyone thinks we're going to do a sign-in trade to Philly after this year. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions for the Raptors in terms of where do they go next. But just talking about the season, yeah, it is kind of messed up that like you get booed at your home free throw line, and everyone kind of knows that's kind of like football. When your team's in the huddle, you shut up. And like when your guy's taking the free throw, you shut up. So I just kind of think it's so different from any other sport where that might actually matter. Like I didn't really play basketball at a high level, but I played outside and I dropped buckets. But like that's not the point. Like yeah, so that stuff does matter. So if I'm the Raptors, I'll just try to run it back.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think moving forward, I'm going to have some of my other basketball friends come on and have their opinion. They're Raptors fans. I'm trying to have some a diverse discussion about where the Raptors could go next, and especially with the future of Gary Trent Jr. I'm excited to see a little bit of a turnaround and some new acquisitions on the offseason. So one more thing about the NBA before we move on. LeBron James in the play-in tournament and his potential matchup. So Steph Curry has been on an absolute tear, willing the Golden State Warriors to a play-in seed, the 8th spot right now. Nothing too special.
Wow, really?
But they're 2 games above 500, and Steph Curry's been having an undeniably MVP candidate season without the recognition that I think it deserves. A lot of people are obviously pointing their fingers at Embiid, Jokic, a couple other players other than Steph Curry. But if you really look at Steph Curry's stats, and I don't want to bore you with the realities of it, I can tell you that the Golden State Warriors are 3rd place right now in NBA all-time threes, with 2 players on their team with above 100 3-pointers made. Steph Curry has 300 and something. Andrew Wiggins has 120. The 2 teams above them, the Utah Jazz and I forget the other team, has 5 players.
Pistons.
No. The 2 teams above the Golden State Warriors have 5 or 6 players that have made 100 or more three-pointers this year. So you take Stephen Curry off the 3-point list on his team, the Golden State Warriors are last place this year in 3-point made. He is leading point scorer in the NBA over Bradley Beal by 100 points, and he's a leading 3-point percent. I think he's a leading 3-point percentage this year as well. And if you compare this to his MVP caliber season in 2015, the pace he's on is going to break those records, as well as the games aren't allowed. And I think all this is shaping up for me to tell you that this is a problem for the Lakers.
Oh, no problem.
So, yeah, let me hear why you guys think it's a problem. I personally think it's a problem because it is Steph Curry in the playoffs, and he's
LeBron in the playoffs, though, man.
I mean, it's LeBron in the playoffs, but look at this is a situation unannounced to them ever. They've never played each other. I don't know if they've ever played each other in a conference divisional leading up. They're usually like this, you know what I mean? Other side of the bracket leading up to the championship final. Now they're in the first round. They're not even in the playoffs. They're battling just to get a chance at the championship. And I think that Steph Curry will ultimately take this over, willing his team past LeBron. He hates LeBron. I don't think that they have any, they're not those people that are chill off the court. I've never seen some of their videos. And even Aisha Curry was chirping LeBron back in the day on Twitter. It was kind of funny. I don't know if they're really close, but I don't really care. I think that the Lakers are going to be so fragile that a play-in tournament, 2 games or so, might get them this year.
I don't know, man. I just kind of think you look at Draymond Green, he's kind of a little bit washed. He's definitely past his prime, in my opinion. I just think you need so much to beat LeBron that I don't think Steph Curry.
I'm trying to talk it, but I like you.
He's gonna have to play the whole game. I don't think.
Yeah,
I know Andrew Wiggins is from Canada and we kind of like him, but talk about a streaky player. You drop 40 one night and you won't see him for 15 games. I just kind of think so much would have to go right for Golden State that I'll pick the Lakers.
And so that team was the Portland Trailblazers and the Utah Jazz. They both those teams above the Golden State Warriors have 1,000 plus 3 points made this year with 5 players on their team. The Portland Trailblazers have 5. The Utah Jazz have 6 players on their team this year with those players who've hit 100 or more 3-pointers. And like I said, the Golden State Warriors are 3rd on that list with 2 players, Andrew Wiggins and Steph Curry. And you take away Steph Curry from that list, they're last place. To your point, 3-pointers made, they're also the leading over the Cleveland Cavaliers in 3 points made this season by 300. So you can tell that Steph Curry's practically willed them into this situation. Now, where it will take them from here is the next question. But I think his swagger is through the roof, and I was hoping that maybe he'd get a little bit more of a recognition for his MVP caliber type season. And I'm hoping for a disappointment in the playoffs, to be honest. Screw it. Josh is having a little bit of conversation. So we can move right along into something else here. That was a great NBA conversation.
Okay, so it's time for match debates. Okay. So, boys, a lot of these questions are actually pretty good. I like this one. So the first one, I think it was TNT, or I don't know, maybe it was First Take, one of the sports shows in the States. They were debating about an NBA final.
On it, yeah.
Yeah, it was, is it harder to win an NBA championship or a Super Bowl? And no offense to the NBA, but if you pick 2 teams that are going to win the NBA championship, you're probably going to be right 75% of the time. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to switch it to more hockey. So the question is it harder to win a Stanley Cup or a Super Bowl? Josh, you want to go first?
That's a tough one.
You want me to go first then? Oh, you're good?
No, I mean, the road to the Super Bowl is shorter, but it's definitely, is it more physically exhausting? Maybe not. You got to rest between. I'll go Stanley Cup. You're playing up to, at least 16 games, 4 different teams. You also have to play an 82-game season before that. It's a physical game, just as physical as football at sometimes. So I'll go Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I say hockey, Stanley Cup for sure. I mean, everyone's raising their eyebrows. Whatever, football's the hardest sport, whatever, toughest sport. Josh brings up good points. They have weeks off to rest. They're usually mandatory. Given they've made rules restricting the amount of like pad hitting days they can have during the week for practice. So it's kind of like a rehab situation ever between the Sunday and Sunday. I think a lot of NFL players are soft. Like some of them are complaining that, oh, they can't do Thursday night games. We just played on Sunday. Like
they got upset that they added a 17th game to the season.
Yeah, I don't like that about the whole narrative. I mean, I think that they think that they're just as important. They might be NBA players, but NBA players and NHL players play every other night, sometimes back to back. And the football players get a very great luxury on the fact that, they're like that Sunday show. They're the Sunday thing. They're once a week, and their playoffs. They have 2 weeks of rest. I think it's really granted to making sure the NFL season is really directed toward making sure that they have the most healthiest players every week, and the greatest product to show America and the world. And I think they do that by giving them a lot of time to rest. And I mean, the space in between games. So I'm just kind of rambling on, but I think that because the Stanley Cup is what it is, and it's intensified football, it's moving faster football. You can do football on skates and you can hit someone. I mean, you've seen it. The refs let you stand off with someone else and fight if you want. You can't do that in the NFL. The refs would move away and you can drop your gloves and have your day with someone in the hockey. And I think that the race to the Cup final is a 4 series 7 game best out of 7 situation. And the NFL is, you could have a lucky random kid go all the way and win 1 game. I mean, Giants beat the undefeated, I'm a Giants fan, we beat the undefeated 17-0 Patriots like almost 10 years ago or something, and that was hooked me onto football. But that was a Cinderella story. So like, I don't know if it was luck. I mean, you can say that they were rested. I don't know what the point is, but I think you just don't see that type of variation when it comes to like the best teams win the most hardest working teams always win the Stanley Cup. I think that it's more physically demanding for sure. So I don't know. Whatever.
But I could kind of use your point against you, Brandon, and say football is harder because, like you said, the randomness. It's 1 game. You throw 1 flag, it's done. You don't even have control. So you could argue it's harder from a standpoint is the Giants, who are 9-7, come in, slap everyone just from a physicality perspective. And like you said, that never happens again. Like you could argue that like the Saints a few years ago, 1 flag, you're done. Like I just think football, it's so much, it's 1 play. But in hockey, I've seen a goalie shoot it in his own net. I've seen guys kill off a 5-minute major. So I think hockey, it's easier to battle adversity in hockey than it is in football from the aspect of in hockey, I throw a flag up, you're 15 yards closer to winning the game. Because in hockey, someone could have the puck, 1 second left, they have an open net. I get my stick, I slash him in the neck and decapitate him. And like nothing happens. The clock ran out. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I know that was a little overboard, but I just kind of think in hockey, there's more room for error and room to mess up. Because like in football, like if someone's throwing the ball and the corner messes up, the game's over because 1 receiver beat 1 guy. But in hockey, I could deke out a defenseman and I still have to score on the goalie. The goalie can give the puck away, and then one of the defensemen plays goalie. Like I think, like
what's more difficult? What's more difficult to plan to have? Okay, like regular confidence or luck?
I think it's harder to plan for luck.
Yeah.
Right. So
that could be football. Like
that's what I'm trying to say.
There's no right answer. I think it's the 2 hardest sports. That's why I switched it from basketball to hockey, because I think hockey and football is better. Because no offense to basketball, LeBron's gone to the finals 7 times, and I know he's LeBron, but in my opinion, it's just like I don't care who you are in football or hockey, you can't do that in a 7-year period. No. Go one player. Brady? But Brady had multiple years where he didn't go to the Super Bowl. Like when you actually look at it,
LeBron did it in a row.
Yeah, like I'm talking about in a row. So you can't say it's the hardest when people do it in a row. And like Kobe did a 3-peat, Michael Jordan did a 3-peat. And imagine winning a championship and your expectation, like LeBron won last year, is, we got to get a 3-peat now. Like, can you imagine the Leafs win and like someone writes an article saying it's not that good because they're not going to win 5 in a row?
Simmons would do that.
Exactly. Steve Simmons. Like, I just kind of think, I have no idea. I think it's such a good question just because you honestly don't know. But we've spent a long time on this question. The next question, the second question. So in the Olympics, you're not allowed to wear any Black Lives Matter stuff. I hear LeBron gets flack all the time for speaking his mind. Charles Barkley has a famous quote saying, "I'm not a role model." And a lot of people get mad at athletes for speaking out. So the actual question is, should athletes be role models? Josh, you want to start?
Like, some athletes should be and some others shouldn't be. Like,
But the overall, should you, I don't want to say expect, but should athletes be role models to the public? And is, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's a very open-ended question, but what do you think?
If you're getting that much exposure and you're on national television up to 4 times a week, kids are going to look up to you. Look at the amount of people that look up to Mitch Marner. Take a look at what just happened with the Sens and Tim Stützle. He gets a hat trick and a bunch of these kids go to his house and throw hats into his backyard. Like, kids look up to these athletes. So if you're an athlete, you should do your best to put your best foot forward. But then, you look at like people like Dennis Rodman, who skips out on a team practice to go and join the NWO on Monday Night Raw, and then he's sleeping with a porn star. So, opposite ends of the spectrum, but
who he
athletes
sleeps
should be
with
role models.
is not a problem.
What?
Who he sleeps with isn't the problem. He can just.
Well, I know. You know what I'm trying to say, though.
I have no idea what you're trying to say. I don't get it.
Some athletes are not role models. Like, parents wouldn't see them as a role model. Like.
So I think my point here is that it's viewer discretion. I mean, you can have a role model, and it's just your decision because they align with all your goals.
But should we expect them though, Brandon? Like, should you expect Austin Matthews to lead by example and not get arrested?
If they put the ink to the paper to be signed by a professional organization that is being paid to publicize, promote them under their contract, I think there are literal there's sections underneath it that say you must portray the Maple Leafs in a positive manner in interview, media, outside. Like there's guidelines that they have to do, and I think that because of that, even in the NBA, it's just converged into when you get drafted that you become this superstar and you become this role model. And even though you're in the OHL and the college, NCAA, that day when you get drafted, everything turns different and you're almost as if you're a hero. And when it comes role models, and I think that you should be expected to be players should be expected by like the media to be portrayed as more role models. So I think that yes, they should be. They already have been, and it's clear athletes are the biggest influencers in the world, I believe. And I think that some of the things they do say have a lot of decisions over a lot of opinions in the world. Sports and people their opinions go a long way and resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, I guess my answer is I have no idea. Like you guys said, it's very hit or miss. Like I don't know if I should expect them to, just because like not everybody is like a Sidney Crosby who just kind of does nothing and says the right thing all the time.
Not everyone's perfect either, for sure. I mean, sorry to cut you off, but I sent Josh a video of LaMelo Ball texting and driving after a game like the other day. Like it was a live Instagram story, and he was recording some guy doing a wheelie on his bike beside him. And it's just like you're driving and recording and you're laughing and you're blasting music and you're not really like that's not a role model, but it's LaMelo Ball. So it's like, oh, you can say he's just a kid, but that's still dangerous. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that.
I didn't see that, but no, I'll look at it. Okay.
So last question.
Well, there's two more.
Two more questions.
All right, two more.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go quick. If the Leafs get swept in the first round, what's going to happen in the offseason? I said should, but I want to say what's going to happen. If we get killed in the first round, what's going to happen?
This is a stupid question.
It's funny.
They're not going to get swept in the first round.
Lost in the first. It doesn't matter. Just answer the question.
You'd see. I don't know. Like they're not going to fire Dubas or Keefe, but they probably
might. That's why.
No, I don't think they would fire Dubas.
If they get destroyed and lose 7-0, Matthews gets no points. Whoever our goalie is gets light up. Caulfield drops hat tricks. Like I'm talking madness, goon stuff. Like Marner gets beat up by Weber. All this crazy stuff.
Big off season.
I become a Ducks fan again. Next question.
I'd be looking for different teams as well. I think if the Leafs got swept in this first round, my ultimate, and if I went back and looked at my excitement throughout this whole year of this podcast and what we have around the Leafs, I would probably just throw all my jerseys.
Okay, well, no, hang on. I got to counter. What did Tampa Bay do when they got swept by Columbus in that first round?
That was different because, like, before they made it to a Stanley Cup final before 2 conference finals and Game 7 of the second round.
But what did they do?
They got tougher.
Okay, well then the Leafs will get tougher. Next question.
Yeah.
No, the Leafs have already had that time to get tougher. They've been.
Yeah, Brandon, you understand why I'm saying it's a little different than the Tampa situation.
They already had 3 seasons in the first round. They're waiting to get out of the first round.
Dude, I think Nylander's gone. I don't know why it would be him, but my gut is just it's Nylander. I think some.
Marner.
Okay, you always say I don't know. No more. Okay, anyways, last question.
No more.
Should steroid users be allowed in the Hall of Fame?
No, I just think because it's tampering with the game, right? And
Yeah.
if it was illegal then, and you got caught, and even though you didn't get caught, and you still put up the numbers, it sucks to suck. And if it comes back around to bite you in the ass, like you really weren't doing the game properly.
Well, now hang on. Was everybody using steroids when they were using steroids?
Probably. That's why it's a funny question.
If it was
got caught.
If it
Are we
was
just talking about one sport here? Because I'm really thinking about baseball.
Baseball,
we're talking
track
baseball.
and field. Yeah, baseball. Okay, we'll say baseball.
I mean, if everybody was using steroids and if it was an even playing field, then maybe allow it. I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It also sucks that who knows, like if we can ever go back and find out if the majority, like Josh, we learned about it. People, the baseball players were like coming into the locker room and like hiding it behind even the football players were taking shots from their buddies, and anything that you could take to make you a little bit advantage. There was needles being thrown around back in the day. And even, who knows what the MLB is like today, right? So
That'd be so much more fun if everyone's on steroids. Like imagine Chara on steroids. That would be a blast.
Well, that wouldn't be a very
people would die.
Promising towards our role model question.
Oh yeah, sorry, but yeah, okay. So
Okay, hang on. So Mark McGuire, I just pulled up his stats. He's one of the most known steroid users in baseball. So these were his home runs. So I'll start at 93. He had 9 home runs, 9 home runs, 9 home runs, 52, 58, 70, 65. So
you hit dingers. Like, dude, I think it'll be so much more fun. Like, I think like just anything goes.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about the steroids in the MLB is like you can't take steroids for vision and aim, and you have to look at the ball and hit it accurately to hit those home runs. But if you just have arms of tree trunks, I mean, if you make connection, it's gone. So
they should let golfers take steroids.
Wait, does anything happen to you if you take it? Like, could like you be affected like
yeah, there's been
health-wise?
bans. Yeah, there's been I've seen suspensions and bans for sure.
Oh,
like there's
health-wise?
recent.
Yeah, like is it bad for you? That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, when
like,
you get older, you look like a grape and a raisin. Or like you look like a raisin.
You look
really
like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, you can see all the all where you used to have all the muscle is like dropped, I think. And I think your body can sustain yourself.
Take a look at Hulk Hogan.
So it's not beneficial to your health to do it.
No.
I mean, unless you plan on dying young.
And there's a body part that you'll probably want it to stay the same that gets smaller. So.
Okay, relax. Okay, yeah. I think we should end it on that note. That was
a
really
episode good today. I'm glad that we talked a lot about Eichel and the boys got together around noon. So let's hope Matt doesn't miss his shift. You got to work?
Yeah.
Go get that bread.
Yeah, I'll see you, boys. Have a good one.
Bye.